Guys, there's a handful of brands of knives that really stand out to me, and Kizer has been one of those companies that has just set itself apart over the last few years. And we're going to talk about a knife that I think just kind of excels in a specific category. This is the Kizer Original, and I think it's one of the best modern gentleman's folders out there. It is an amazing, elegant little knife. So let's take a look at it from above. Guys, this is the Kizer Original, and I think that this is just almost a perfect modern gentleman's knife. And I say modern because typically slip joints like this were considered your gentleman's knives, or the little lockbacks like this, little Barlow, were considered your gentleman's folders. But the modern gentleman's folder is just simply a slimmer, more sleek, more elegant pocket knife that you can carry in a lot of situations. And I think this Kizer Original really, really sums it up. So mine is the copper. This comes in a lot of variants. So let's take a good look at this. So you're looking at a 154 cm blade and copper handles and a button lock. So first things first, we're gonna put a spec sheet up here because this is the final review of this knife. So you can check out that spec sheet, and I'll get a couple knives out for size comparison. Your first one's gonna be, first knife is the titanium pyrite, another good little gentleman's button lock. So you can see by size here, the CGRB pyrite, just a little bit bigger dimensionally. Your next knife's gonna be, stay out of the studio, PDM. Sorry about that. The Benchmade 940 is your next knife. You can see this is a knife most of you guys are going to have a good size reference for. Tip to tip, tail to tail. This is a much longer knife overall. And your final knife for size comparison, as always, is the Chris Reese Sebenza Large 21, another knife that you guys should know for size reference. You can see this is a rather small-ish knife, and I really dig it. So let's get this out of the way and talk about this knife overall. So now let's talk about this knife. So I have carried this knife a lot. This is the copper and 154 cm version. It is a button lock. You can see you've got a very nicely done 154 cm blade that is ground. It's ground a little bit on the thicker side, but it's still within that range of what I would come to expect to be a good cutter. It has cut well. It's done a lot of cutting. The blade has been done in a black coat and then a stone wash that has held up really well for the amount of cutting that I have done with this. The handles on this are full copper. This is a full copper slab on each side. It's been heavily weight reduced, and then had the button lock installed on it in a little steel liner area. You can see that small little liner there that the button lock mechanism sits in. So it's not just a copper, because copper is not going to hold up to that wear. So your bearings are rotating on a steel platform and washers. This is thumb stud only, and it has got a nice deep carry pocket that lets you carry it really far forward. I have carried this a lot, as you can see. You can see the amount of wear and polish that's on this pocket polish. This entire knife was the same color as this little pocket area for the button, and some of the areas here on the spine of the scales is still that dark original color. But I've carried it and worn it to the point where it has just beautifully picked up a little bit of pocket polish and truly has become my knife. I'm keeping this one. This is one of the ones I am keeping, because I like it. It's just thick enough in hand to account for the thinness of the handle. So you've got a very, very comfortable grip on that. Hang on a second, there's a jet flying over. Sorry about that. What I was saying was the handles on this are just thick enough to give you additional comfort because it's a rather narrow knife. This thing feels really, really good in hand. You've got really good action on this, as you would expect from a button lock, but it is running on ceramic bearings. Kizer has really stepped up their game when it comes to the action, fit and finish, and all those things on their knives. This knife came perfectly centered and is just a joy to carry. It is ambidextrous, so it's got left and right hand thumb studs, because button locks are an ambidextrous lock. You can reverse flick off of the thumb studs, and disassembly on this is really not that difficult. The button lock sits in this plate really well. It's easy to keep this together. You take this screw out, then you take the body screws out, you can lift this off, and you can leave the screw, I'm sorry, the button inside this forward scale, and it makes a reassembly easier. Sometimes button locks can get tricky because there is a spring you've got to deal with inside that little plunger there. There is no blade play in this knife, any direction. There's no stick on the lock. And I gotta say, it is one of the more attractive knives that they have done in a while. I do like these traditional style smaller knives. And typically I'm not a fan of copper. They are pretty heavy. But in this, it feels really good because it puts the weight and balance right there on this smaller knife. So it's super comfortable in hand with really good balance. Now, with everything, there are some negative things about it. So we're going to turn this around and talk about the little bit of negative things right after you guys see a little bit from Coffee Brand Coffee.
That no one likes to watch ads in the middle of a video. I don't like putting them in, but I do know that I gotta support what I do here, so I partnered with companies that I know I can trust. And today's sponsor is Coffee Brand Coffee. They're delivering quality coffee, freshly roasted on demand, ground to order and delivered to your door, and they're not doing anything political, so you don't have to worry about a company that you're supporting that is supporting causes that you might not agree with, because they don't support any causes. They just simply take the money and put it back into making a better product. So I would appreciate if you both support their new small business and my channel by checking out Coffee Brand Coffee and looking at their offerings. Use the link below and my coupon code Crazy Sharp on their website. It's Crazy Sharp, all one word, capital C, capital S. Let's get back to this.
All right, there are very few negative things about this knife. There really are. One of the big ones is they really missed a chance. With this being ambidextrous, they missed a chance to put a spot for you to put the pocket clip on both sides. I think that would have been great. They could have put a copper plate on there and it would have patinaed the same as the rest of the knife. The other thing that really, it's an aesthetic thing. I wish that they had just done this completely raw copper as opposed to putting a coating on it, because then I could have patinaed this. It's starting to wear and get some pocket polish, but I don't think this will ever patina up the way I want it to, like some other knives have. Copper gets a beautiful patina on it when it's allowed to just be raw and it, you know, fingerprint up, and it gets the different colors to it and things like that, or you can force patina it with chemicals. The next thing is the thumb studs. As much as I do like everything about the action and everything on it, the thumb studs, let me zoom in, I can show you. The thumb studs are a little bit sharp, which might bother some people. It's not really a bothersome thing to me. I got calluses on my thumbs, but they are relatively sharp on the edge. So that might bother a couple, I mean, you know, that might bother some people that is like that. And then one of the final things is, I don't know a way to avoid this, but I wish they had done a different type of finish on the pivot and things like that. You can see how that has lost the black on it. I think it would have been cooler if maybe they could have blued these or parkerized them or done them as a color or something that was more consistent with the copper, because that's gonna shine up and it's gonna look out of place on this all copper knife. So the last thing is the pocket clip is a little tall. It's not really a hot spot, but it's definitely there. You can definitely tell that it's there. In light cutting, it's not an issue. In heavy cutting, it's much more pronounced because it's a relatively tall pocket clip. That's my problem with all these deep carry pocket clips. There has to be a better way to do this. That doesn't need to be that tall. Just because it's a deep carry pocket clip doesn't mean it needs to have that much more space between it and the material. Your pocket doesn't get any thicker the deeper you put it in your pocket. So a tall pocket clip like this is not necessary when there's so many more low profile pocket clips that do every bit as good a job as this. So it's never made sense to me why they have to be that tall. So just one of those things. And Kizer, as much as I like Kizer knives, has been famous for putting just aberrations of pocket clips on their knives. They really have been. That could have easily been lower just simply by cutting that groove out deeper and letting that sit in lower and be a little lower profile. So not a lot of negative on it. The action on it's amazing. This is one of the things I wanted to point out. Listen to this. It's just got this ting to it that I have not got in many other knives, and I really dig it. So there you go, guys. The Kizer Original in copper and 154 cm. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Let's turn this around and do some final thoughts.
There you go. There is no arguing it. This is an amazing little knife. There's a reason why it's been really popular for them. It is one of the best button locks out there. It's one of the best gentleman folders, and it's one of the few knives that is a full copper knife that I absolutely dig and love. So I wanted to really do it justice, and that's why it took so long to finally get around to the review on this, the final review. So Guys, that's it on this one. I hope you like it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down, but tell me why I can't change that content. If you don't, tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, lots of ways you can do it. The best way is to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment. Interacting with the channel is the best thing you can do. It pushes videos up the algorithm. If you want to support the channel financially, I've got a ton of ways. I know you saw Coffee Brand Coffee, but I also have Tempered Trail, which has got a coupon code that they share. Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail both are crazy sharp, all one word. The other ways you can do it is I have an Amazon store down below. You can take that link, pin it to your browser, use that for all your Amazon shopping. It doesn't cost you anything at checkout, but it definitely supports the channel. And I do have a membership that is tier-based. I have 3 different tiers. The baseline and premium tier members are entered into giveaways that I do off of YouTube that's separate from the YouTube stuff. The premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series behind the paywall here on YouTube, but everyone has access to my Gilded server, which is a community we've built around the world. It's a lot like Discord, but I've built it for us, and it's a lot of fun. Guys, that's it on this one. Hopefully you liked it. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and I'll see you in the next video.